if you want information from people that know what they're doing, go down to your local nursery in the spring, watch people that are buying bedding plants and seeds. These are experienced gardeners for the most part, or they wouldn't be there buying that stuff. Engage them in a conversation. Find out, well, what do I plant first? Do I plant tomato seeds in the garden, or do I plant tomato plants? Do I put in cabbages before I put in petunias? I mean, there's an order to things. And while the weather is even less certain than it's been for the last 50 or 100 years, these experienced gardeners can tell you what to do.
That's right, and all the help you give, because none of us know everything. We have an internet, and I firmly believe throughout all thick and thin, this internet will stay up during everything. But if you can't pay for your internet because your credit and you're in debt and you can't pay for your internet, it's going to go down too. But that's sort of a lifeline as well. I know it's going to be regulated with the transfer to ICANN. Like, I can't believe the United States gave up ownership and control of the internet to the UN. Private corporation ICANN, overseen by the UN, to now regulate our internet and what we can say for free speech. That aside, the internet should still stay up during this entire next 20-year process of the cooling, except when you start talking about where the cooling's happening in the depths and all these types of things. That'll be highly censored, I do believe. But it should stay up for an information resource.
You know, I fondly believe that the governments and the United Nations can lie to us till the cows come home. But there's no arguing with the fact that overnight you got 3 feet of snow in your driveway. You can't hide it. It will be relegated to the local news. National news will try to avoid reporting it. But that's what's going to break the cycle, I hope, of these globalists lying to us for their own purposes. In some ways, the new little ice age may prove liberating. If we didn't have to spend all the money that we have to spend now on useless government regulations and bureaucracies, we'd all be wealthier. So maybe the little ice age is going to help us. Who knows?
That's true. And a lot of the stories, I really will go as high and say 80% of the stories that I cover, that I put into my YouTube channel on ADAPT 2030, are local stories, just like you said. It could be a blanket snowstorm somewhere that affects a quarter of a state or half a state in the United States. If that was even 1/10 of a degree warmer, it would be national news. You get feet of snow out of season that closed down half of a state in the United States, it's only a local news story. And those are the things I try to bring forward, and I see that trend again and again and again. They're trying to bury it, because when it snows locally, they have to report it locally, because people ask, why didn't you report the 3 feet of snow in the middle of summer in Yellowstone that happened? Well, you have to report it in Yellowstone. I'm sorry, it wasn't 3 feet. It was like 2.3 feet. Blizzard in the end of August in Yellowstone that closed down the highways and the roads there. But they had to report it there because people actually felt that the roads were closed. But, you know, somewhere else, you're not going to report an out-of-season snowstorm like that in Yellowstone. It just didn't make the news nationally.
That's what I use my the Facebook page for. I report as much of those local events as I can. For example, there's an awful lot of people that don't know that just this past December, it was New Year's Eve, December 31st, in Texas, there was a blizzard that roared out of New Mexico into Texas of cold and snow and killed 35,000 dairy cows. Most people don't know that. I made a point of reporting that and reporting all these other blizzards. There were 5 major blizzards in the United States this past winter, including the one in New York on January 17th, that was an absolute all-time record for cold and snow. That got a lot of coverage because New York's a big place. But those dairy cows in Texas, they got ignored.
All those crazy pictures of the cows, they were standing up next to sheds and they were buried in snowdrifts that were 15, 20 feet tall. And they actually suffocated under the snow. And I was thinking, you know, those are some hardy, warm animals. And I just, when I saw that same footage of the frozen cows out in the fields, I was shocked.
Well, David, I don't think you saw that because it was the warmest year ever.
It was the warmest year ever, yeah. Everybody was wearing, you know, Bermuda shorts, out looking at the happy cows in the fields, weren't they?
Yeah. God, we live in a world of deception. You know, the previous society, when governments wanted to start wars and take over other countries, they just brought their tanks to the border and marched in. You could see it coming. Right now, we have wars going on that are propaganda wars and cyber wars, and unless you look for it, you're not going to find it. We are living in a world of propaganda and nonsense, and the objective always is for one group of people to control another group of people. They just have found a new and better way to do it.
By keeping you so busy and distracted with all of these things, the rising food prices, the economy, jobs shifting overseas, race wars, migrant crisis, possible invasion threats, everywhere you look there's something, and everybody is so distracted that they're not seeing the snow in front of their face.
I've started reading RT online. It's a news channel from Russia, and
station.
It is, yeah. They always give you a slightly different perspective on just about everything. I mean, CNN has got to be the biggest propaganda organ ever. They have produced more propaganda than you can imagine. So when I see something on CNN, I always go look and see what RT has to say. And what a surprise. The current tensions in Syria are explained completely differently in the Russian media. It's a good example of what's going on with global cooling. By the way, did you know that the Russians are on a icebreaker building spree? They're building dozens of new icebreakers, big ones. I mean, really big ones. Nuclear-powered icebreakers. Of course, Obama in the States, he thinks we need more icebreakers, but the United States has only got 2 or 3. And they should have been putting more money into icebreakers. I mean, 2 winters ago on the Great Lakes, the shipping season was reduced by 3 weeks because of ice. Their icebreakers were taking a hell of a beating. They couldn't get iron ore and grain and everything else that they ship on the Great Lakes. They couldn't get it out because it was frozen. The Russians are on top of this. We're not.
And those of you who don't know what RT is, that stands for Russian television, and it's a little green square that swirls around when it comes up before the news broadcast starts.
It's RT.com. You know, go look it up, RT.com.
Yeah, it is great. They've also warned their people, Russia has also warned its citizens that we are coming into a cooling phase. You know, Abutinov with the Pokopol Observatory and Zarkova as well. These 2 scientists in Russia, and they're telling their people, get ready for this, that's coming, and then over on this side of the world, they're saying, no, it's warming. So these are the diametric opposites of what's being told to the citizens.
Yeah, that's puzzling too, isn't it? I mean, here we have the Russians speaking the truth to their people. The government of Pakistan, you did a great video on the government of Pakistan and their meteorological department warning people about the coming little ice age because of the declining sunspots. So you've got some governments out there warning their people to give them a chance to survive, and the Americans are fudging the data so people will think it's getting warmer. It's crazy. Why is that?
Well, you have to come back to the globalist agenda, and you might think that there might be a depopulation agenda mixed in with their control agenda. Now, that's just my own personal thought, though.
I see that on the internet, and of course, you know, without some facts to back it up, we can only speculate as to why they would not help us get prepared for an event that'll be bigger than the Black Death. There could be all kinds of reasons as to why the globalists would want us unprepared for these events that are coming. We're entering interesting times, David, and you know what the old Irish curse is? May you live in interesting times.
It is very interesting indeed. Well, Larry, I thank you so much for coming on and sharing your valuable time with us tonight. I know you're always busy, creating content for the net so people can get informed, stay informed, and make their own wise decisions based on fact. And I thank you for doing that for everybody as well, including myself, and that's why we're talking.
David, thank you very much for contacting me and having me on your show. And I really hope that people do start looking out for themselves, get prepared,